कैसे आरती हो, आरती कैसे आरती, भव खंडना तेरी आरती, भव खंडना तेरी आरती, आरती कैसी आरती होए। गगन में थाल राव चंद दीपक बने, गगन में थाल राव चंद दीपक बने, तारका मंडल जनक मोती, धूप मलयान लो पावन चवरो करे, धूप मलयान लो पवन चवरो कर, सगल बन राए फूलंत ज्योति, सगल बन राए फूलंत ज्योति, आरती कैसी आरती होए। आरती कैसे आरती होए, भव खंडना तेरी आरती, अनहदा शब्द वाजंत भेरे, अनहदा शब्द वाजंत भेरे, आरती कैसी आरती हो। राग तनासरी मैला पहला, आरती कैसी आरती होए, भव खंडना तेरी, भव खंडना तेरी आरती, अनहता शब्द वजंत भेरी, सहस तब नैन नन, नैन है तो एको, सहस तब नैन नन, नैन है तो हे कौ, सहस मूरत नन्ना एक तो ही, सहस पद बेमल नन, एक पद गंध बिन, सहस पद बेमल नन, एक पद गंध बिन, सहस तब गंध एव चलत मोही, हस तब गंध एव चलत मोही, आरती कैसी आरती होए, आरती कैसी आरती होए, भव खंडना तेरी आरती, भव खंडना तेरी आरती, आरती कैसी आरती होए। सब में जोत जोत है सोए, सब में जोत जोत है सोए, तिस दे चानन, तिस दे चानन, सब में चानन होए, भव खंडना तेरी आरती, गुर साखी जोत प्रगट होए, जो तिस भावै सो आरती होए, भव खंडना तेरी आरती। हर चरण कमल मकरंद लोभत मनो, अन दिनो मोहे आही प्यासा। हर चरण कमल मकरंद लोभत मनो, अन दिनो मोहे आही प्यासा। कृपा जल दे नानक सारंग को, कृपा जल दे नानक सारंग को, होए जाते तेरे नाए वासा, होए जाते तेरे नाए वासा। आरती कैसे आरती होए, आरती कैसे आरती होए, भव खंडना तेरी आरती। अनहदा शब्द दिवाजत भेरे, आरती कैसे आरती हो, आरती कैसे आरती हो। In our last gathering, Gurbani was trying to tell us what it is required, to get started on the path of experientially knowing what we intellectually discuss. Gurbani insists, is trying to wake us up and say, there is no other. You are it. But you have not developed the senses, the tools, the vision. Use any term you want to use. You have not developed yourself to the level where you can experientially know the statement, you are it. There is no other. Your insistence on the other is only because you have not experienced it yourself. And to experience it, all you have to do is drop those curtains in front of your consciousness, remove the fog of ignorance, and see the light. But when you do that, what will happen? You, as you know, would no more be. And that's not an easy prospect. The ego, the I, that I, the identity, who I call or you call Jaswant, exists only because it is separate from something. Because if, we have talked about it a number of times, if the drop falls into the ocean, you can stare at the ocean all you want, you will not be able to see the drop. Neither the drop will be able to come back and say, see, I became part of the ocean. That possibility will be lost forever. That identity will be lost forever. There is absolutely no other way. You cannot pick the root from the ground and find the seed. If you insist upon the fruit of the seed must die as a seed so that it can sprout as a plant which will lead to the fruit. Human's insistence on being separate is because of the logic that it has developed itself. Okay, so let's take the model. And so Gurbani has taken today the model of what is going on for thousands of years in almost every part of the land. And the word is arati. Arati is not a Punjabi word, it's a Sanskrit word. Arat. Arat was a term given to a process by which you do the invocation for a higher deity, and for you collect the samagri, the things for that deity, whether these are the lamps and whether it is the agarbattis and dhoops and the flowers and food and whatever else that comes in there. And then 4 times around the head, 2 times around the center, 7 times around the body, and you are invoking the pleasure and the blessing of a higher deity. Okay, so far so good. Now let's look at the logic of the human. Okay, now please stay with me. This is not to insult anybody's sentiments. I'm not trying to do that. Okay, whatever the belief systems anybody has, they can hold on to that for this time being. Understand, maybe this will revolutionize something inside you. So I want to invoke a deity. Okay, which deity? Well, I don't want to start anywhere in the middle. I want to go to God directly, Bhagwan. So another question is, have I seen Bhagwan? If I invoke Bhagwan and Bhagwan comes up in front of me, would I be able to recognize it? If I do recognize it, how do I recognize it? Based on what? I haven't seen it. Has anybody else seen it? Oh, no, wait a minute. No. That's not right. I am actually going to make a picture, a statue, a symbol of Bhagwan. Okay, so how are you going to do that? What would you verify it with? That this is the real face of a Bhagwan. How would you do that? If you're going to insist on invoking a deity, which is that deity? Well, okay, no. Bhagwan is too far off. Let's come down a little bit closer and say, well, I am going to invoke Krishna. All right, fine. Have you seen Krishna? If you're going to make a statue of a Krishna, have you seen Krishna? No, let's come a little closer. Well, I want to invoke Ganesh. And I have heard the story that Ganesh has an elephant face and a human body. Okay, which elephant face? Young, old, male, female, tusk, no tusk, this size, this shape, this. How would you take a stone and carve out of it based on something and create a deity? Well, let's assume that you can do that. If you are the creator of the deity, can that deity be bigger than you? Can that be deity higher than you because it's your creation? It came out of you. Look at the arrogance. Reverse logic, that's what we were talking about, right? Look at how the logic has turned itself on and whole of the universe is caught in that, and you cannot do anything to wake up the mass consciousness and say, you are in sleep. You make a painting. Okay, I don't want to make a painting. Wow, Muslim says, oh, that's a idol worship. Okay. So they create a symbol and put it on a wall. Who created that symbol? Where did it come from? Its shape that's carved into that stone. Which mind created that? That mind is greater than the symbol that is in that stone. How are you going to worship it? Based on what? But you insist. So what you do? You first create your own Bhagwan and then you put that Bhagwan, whatever that Bhagwan is, it doesn't matter. Whatever that form is. It could be a granth, it could be a statue, it could be a painting, it could be a symbol. It could be a light. I have nothing but I take a lamp and a light and I sat in front of the fire. Who lit the fire? Who collected the material for it? Who's paying for it? Where is it coming from? Because if you're going to invoke a deity, then Gurbani says, you tell me what is it that you have from within you that's being offered. If everything that you're going to do actually is coming from the same deity, isn't it a reverse logic? You take it from him and give it him back and say, would you be kind to me now? Why would I be kind to you? I gave you for the first time. Sikhism hasn't understood the statement, Pher keh age rakhiye jit disse darbar. And we translated it saying, Pher means, then what else we should do? Gurbani wasn't saying that at all. Gurbani is saying, Phera means circle. Whatever you do, it will be a complete circle. It started from there, it will go back to him. How can that please him? Something that he created and it came back. It logically belonged to him to begin with. It was a gift to you. How can you return the gift and then expect something good in return? Give me something that belongs to you, that originally you created, and you will find that the only thing the human created was the arrogance. That I, that me, that haume, that ego. I am separate than you are. So Guru Nanak is trying to hammer at the consciousness through Gurbani and says, look at your own arrogance. A human, a creation, is trying to invoke the creator. Isn't it reverse? Creator will put life into somebody and wake it up, right? A creator can create a statue and blow the wind of life and say, I bring you into life. Go do something. But the logic is reversed. Human insists, no, I will invoke you. By doing what? Arati. How would you invoke me? Well, I create your symbol first. Then I will collect the things that you have given me and I'll burn them in front of you and beat some drums and sing some songs and you better be nice to me. How egoistic. How arrogant. Because if the ultimate creator is to be invoked, don't you think that you will need that much energy and power to invoke him? No, but because it is your Bhagwan, it came out of your consciousness, it is same puny and impotent just like you are. It's just that small because you yourself have no power to invoke him, but you insist. Why? Because that enforces your identity as a I. I am something. I am somebody. And I am that somebody different from you. And Gurbani starts with the statement. This is the Rahao line. Kaisi arati hoye? How can that be arat? Look at the creator. How large a creation. Don't you think that the creator's statue has to be as large as the creator is? Don't you think that if you're going to offer him the fragrance, then the fragrance should be big enough, good enough, large enough for God to feel it? Or your agarbatti is going to do the job? What's the size of your agarbatti versus his nostrils? You think they are so puny and impotent? Can you see how your mind has turned upside down and actually cut your Bhagwan to such a small size that you have become the creator now and he has become your creation. So now stay with that thought. Go deeper into that. Why take the stone? If the first statement part is true, he's everywhere, then why pick a stone? Are you not the same also? He's everywhere, right? If he is everywhere, is he not in you? So why pick the stone? Well, that's precisely the point. See the reverse logic? See the reverse logic. See in that. I mean, it is comical. And Gurbani is saying, there is nobody to worship. Just know yourself. Go inside. You are not separate. There is nobody to be worshipped. There is no other. You are it. Just wake up. See for that as eternal truth. Recognize it. Accept it. मन तू ज्योत स्वरूप है, अपना मूल पहचान. You are it. Just recognize it. First, recognize it emotionally, intellectually, and then get on the path so that you can see it and feel it experientially. So that like Mansoor, you can also run naked in the world and say, Anhalak, Anhalak, Anhalak. Mahi Khuda ha, Mahi Khuda ha, Mahi Khuda ha. Get to that stage. Every saint, every Brahmajnani, every evolved soul has hammered on that thought. Hey, don't insist on you being the separate one. But the mind would not accept that logic. Hey, I am separate. What do you mean by I am not? Oh, I may be small and you may be big, but I am. Isn't it? I am willing to be as insignificant as puny you want me to be, but I am. I will insist to be I am. And Gurbani says, wait a minute. Would you give up this logic? It is the reverse. Reality is only he is. You are a dream, you are an illusion. That illusion, that dream may last you 70, 80, 100 years. But that you will wake up from the dream someday and look back and say, oh God, Narpat ek singhasan soya supne bhaya bikhari, achal raj bichar dukh paya ehigat bhai hamari. Narpat means a king. He says, look, what's happening to the man? It's like a king sitting on his own throne in the presence of enjoying all of the rangaraliyan, all of the maya, and then falls asleep and start dreaming that he has become completely bankrupt. All of his luxuries are gone. And he's sitting on the throne, he's crying. I am broke. I am broke. Oh, somebody help me, I'm broke. And that people are saying, wake up, you're dreaming. No, I'm broke. Everything is gone. Achal Raj bicharat dukh paya. He's sitting on the throne and he's suffering. Eh gat bhai hamari. This is what Haume is about. This is what I is about. Madhave, kya kahiye, bharm kaisa, jaisa, janiye, hoye na taisa. What do you call dubida? What do you call doubt? What do you call vahem? What's the definition of that? The definition is, you start believing what is true, what really is not. What's not true, you start believing it. That's called vahem. Dubida. Bharam. Isko bharam pega. Bharam kya hota hai? अंधेरा है तो रास्ते में रस्सी पड़ी है, सारी रात गुजार दी है, सांप को कैसे आगे निकल जाऊं. सुबह रोशनी हुई तो वो सारी रात गुजर गई. यहां तो कुछ भी नहीं था, तो रस्सी थी. It was just a rope. But the mind convinced itself, no, it's not a rope, it's a snake. How does the mind convince itself? Under the guise of that logic that we were talking about. That's how the logic converts itself. And Gurbani says, look at this function. Look at this, what the whole of the world is doing. If you really want to understand what arati is, then you have to look at that scale. The scale at which the creator can relate with. And Gurbani goes on to say, he says, Gagan mein Thaal Ravchand Deepak banai. So look at the whole universe. And it is inside you too. Jo Brahmande, soi pinde, jo khoje so paave. You can see that Gagan right inside you, and you can see that Suraj and Chanda, everything right inside you. It is possible. It has been done. So if you are going to look at the Creator and you want to do its arti, and you have this little small plate in which you have a little candle, and you're trying to show that to the Creator, that's not even equal to one moon, one sun, much less thousands of moons and millions of suns. Can you compete with that? Gagan mein Thaal, the whole of the cosmos, that is the plate. And Rav Chand, Suraj and Chandrama, Deepak bane. And you're going to take these little silver things and sprinkle it to decorate it and say, Tarika Mandal. Look at every star is a shining little diamond in that. Tarika Mandal Janakamoti, and you want to light your own little fragrance, धूप और अगरबत्ती लाना चाहते हो, तो धूप मले आन लो. Male, Agar, it is a name of a mountain, Malay. Agar, just agarbatti baniye. There is a mountain in India on which the majority of the trees are of chandan. So you start sensing the fragrance as you get closer from miles and miles. It is Dhoop Malayanlo. This is the whole of the hills on the earth which has nothing but fragrance. The trees are nothing but fragrance. Dhoop Malayanlo. And you have this little hair brush and you are chavar karna hai, to wave that little wand over the head. Pavan chavaro kare. The wind blowing in the entire cosmos. And Sagal Banaraye Phulanta Jyoti. You are going to go to the garden and pick up few flowers. This is, look at the whole greenery of the earth. Sagal Banaraye. The whole of the cosmos is in a 24 hours a day, 365 days a year in constant arati. For that creative energy. How dare you insult your own Bhagwan? How arrogant can you be that you cut him down to such a small size and start doing your own arati? But the question is, who is showing whom? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right that the one diva represents the light. But that's the whole question. Why is that representing the energy rather than Chandrama and the Suraj? That's what Gurbani is asking you to see the logic of this. Why you insist on your little diva and your agarbatti when there is an eternal diva and an eternal agarbatti already there? Why don't you see that as the arati, and why don't you participate in that arati which is going on 24 hours a day? Kaisi arati hoye bhavakhandana teri arati? You got it. It is my feeling good. It is me, the I. See, I made this statue. I made this thing. I am lighting this thing up. That I, all over the place, I. Do you think a mystic does that? He gets up in the morning, he looks at that and he goes, oh God, oh Allah, how beautiful is this? He goes to a plant and looks at a flower and says, oh God, what a miracle. This little bird starts chirping in the morning and listen to the music and say, oh my God, what an eternal music. That is the participation in the natural process that's going on. But if we participated in the natural progress, guess what? I am no more. What's my contribution to this? It's already there. And I want to insist on my contribution. And the logic has been accepted. It is in our genetics, coded. And the mind will come back and from one door, back door, front door, it'll come and fight. Then who are you? What are you? Don't humiliate yourself. You are the God. Oh, that's blasphemic. How can I be the God? Well, whether you like it or not, you are. The only problem is you haven't seen it yet, experienced it yet. You haven't realized it, but you are. You can't get away from that fact. You are the drop that came from the same ocean. Every quality. Do you think the ray of the sun fights with the sun and say, well, I am not sun because I can't burn anybody and sun can't burn it? You may be the ray, but you are the sun. Your insistence on being by yourself, individual ray, is the only root of the problem. That's the only stumbling block you need to get over with. And Gurbani gives multiple of examples. At one place, Gurbani says, look at the bangle, the earrings, the necklace, and the churiyan jehdiyan paunch paai jandiyan ne. Say, look at all of them. They are ornaments. And if you ask them individually, the ring would never agree to be a earring. Hey, I'm a ring. I represent the wedding. Necklace would never want to be in the feet. Hey, I want to be close to the heart. See, everybody thinks of their own. I, as a child, remember that when there used to be election in there, they used to sing praises of their symbol. Congress is khota and this is a ghoda. And they used to do lectures over the symbols, right? Jansang used to be the diya. We are the light. Everybody else is darkness. Somebody's election symbol will be tiger. Hey, I'm going to eat everybody alive. It's like my mother will name me Sher Singh. And there's a darkness. Somebody knocks on the door and tell the wife, go take a look at him. Nah, mera Sher Singh hai. Would you go take a look outside? Who's there? Wa? Sher to tu hai, janani ko keh rahe hain. Arrogance. The ego. The insistence. So Gurbani says, look at these ornaments. And then somebody wisely take all these ornaments and throw them into a single bag. And when they're all off the body, which was giving them the individual identity. Now for themselves, they cannot see what they are. All they can see is we are gold. Till that identity remains, till that necklace is in the neck and the ring is on the finger or earrings in the ear, they have an identity. You take them off, throw them into the single box, remove that source of identification, now they are nothing but gold. And so the same is happening to the human. Get them away from these identifying things. I was born to so and so, this is my country, this is my religion, this is my parents, this is my education, this is my wealth, name, fame. Get them away from this all. And then throw them into the pot. What are they? And if you want to know, go to a cow and tell him that I'm a PhD. See if she worries about it. But go tell to a human I'm a PhD. It has significance now. Why is that? Because cow has no ego. It will not recognize anybody else's ego. But humans have ego. They will recognize each other's ego. You go talk to a tree. There is no other creation on this planet which is so separate from the Creator because of this single insistence, which is, I am. Only human body does that. No other animal, bird, plantation, no other body does that. Just one. And Gurbani says, Haume rog man ko dina. That's it. You see, if you want to know if you are sick or not, well, Gurbani says, that's what happens most of the time. I go to Santa Ana and they say, that's a doctor's Gurdwara. I see all the rogi. I don't see any doctor. If they are doctor themselves, what are they doing here? Ithe to rogi aande sare. Doctor shakter se koi nahi hai. Why? Gurbani says, jo dis hai. So rogi. Can anybody define health? Try it. Who will you call a healthy person? One who's not sick, right? So the health is with respect to what? Sickness. Can you define health without sickness? Gurbani says, let me tell you the real health. The one who is free of the rogue of Hame. Otherwise, you're all sick. We are all sick. Jojo dise so rogi rog rahat mera satgur yogi. That's where the rogue because as soon as you are born, that saying in Christianity, the devil whispers in every girl's ear that there is no prettier woman ever born before you. And goes, if a male is, then he said, there is no smarter man born than you. And they both live their life with that illusion. Continue all through. So much so that when the human dies, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜਿਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੱਡਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਭੇਜੋ, ਹੈ ਨਾ? When people die, ਆਪੀ ਨੇ ਭੋਗ ਕੇ ਹੋਏ ਭਸਮਣ ਸੌਰ ਸਦਾਇਆ ਵੱਡਾ ਹੋਵਾ ਦੁਨੀਦਾਰ ਗਲ ਸੰਗਲ ਕੱਤ ਚਲਾਇਆ. ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਰਗੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਰੋਟੀ ਭਾਵੇਂ ਨਾ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੂੰਹ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਉਂ ਲਾ ਦਿਓ ਜੀ, ਕਿਉਂ ਖਾਂਦਾ ਮਰਿਆ. Once the man dies, it suddenly becomes a god. Suddenly becomes a king. Oh, he was a saint. Oh, is that right? Was he a saint when he was alive? And the same true of the man. So what's happening? The source of the ego has disappeared. That comparison, that competition that was there, it is gone. And Gurbani says, would you look at this logic? Would you question yourself and say, kaisi aarati hoye? Bhav khandana. O Creator, the real arati, when would the human really absorb that and participate in the true arati? Because in order to do that, what would the human have to do? Human would have to accept the fact that I am not that insignificant, I am not that small, I am part of that Creator who has this whole drama going on, Leela, Maya. And I refuse to get lost in this. I am you. Just as you are enjoying that Maya, I am enjoying that Maya. And if that happens, then guess what? Suddenly the quality of life changes. You live the same life, but you no more arguing and fighting and defending and attacking. Because in order to do that, remember, even to say, I am bad, I is required. Mostly we don't do that. We say, I am good. It's very easy to recognize the I in good. Hey, this guy is very arrogant. He calls himself good. How can you call yourself good? Let others tell you you are good. And then you say, no, I'm not good. They'll say, no, you are. No, I'm not. I'm small. No, you are. Oh, all right. Drama goes on. You tell me I'm a saint. I tell you you are great. Dona di gal ban gayi. Right? One scratching the hand, the other. Remember, in order to say I am bad, I is still there. Mahado hum aise, tu aisa. Tum karo bhala, hum bhalo na jane. Madhve tum na toro, tau hum nahi tore. Jo tum girvar, tau hum mora. Jo to chanda, hum bane hain chikora. जो तुम दिवरा ताओ हम बाती, जो तुम तीरथ ताओ हम जाती. And we translated that. Look how humble the human is. It's saying, तू पर्वत है तो मैं तो छोटा सा जानवर हूं, मैं तो है ना. That's not what that Gurbani is saying. Bhagat was never saying that, but this is how we want to translate. Look how humble I am. Can the humility be declared? How humble I am. Can you look at the statement and see through it how humble I am? Are you? Did you really need to say that? And if you needed to say that, how humble are you? Humility can only be lived. Humility can never be declared. You can only be. You cannot say it. The moment you say it, you are no more humble. Just as the silence cannot be declared. If you say, see, I'm quiet. Can you see the stupidity of this statement? See, I'm quiet. If you were quiet, you wouldn't have to declare it. You would be quiet. The fact you opened your mouth, you are not quiet anymore. Can you see the fallacy in this? This is how your logic works, because this is how the ego's trap is. Can you get out of it? And see the आरती. कैसी आरती होए भव खंडना तेरी आरती अनहद शब्द वाजंत भेरी. What are my drums and baja and dholki going to do for him? Where there is anhadanad, soundless sound. Can you experience that sound? Can you even have the thirst and desire to experience that soundless sound? We as a human experience the sound in 5 different ways. Percussions is a sound. Wind is a sound. Bansuri, that's a sound. The wire, sarangi, violin, that's a sound. Picking the string, that's a sound. We can relate with those types of production of sound. Can we relate with the sound created by clapping of one hand? That's called anhata shabad vajant bheri. A sound that is created without the other. That is the real. Bheri mean tuti vajana. That's what is going on over there. 24 hours. Why is that arati this way? Why isn't it the arati the way humans have designed it to be? Kurbani says, here is the reason for it. Here is the reason. What's the reason? Sahas tav nan 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 hai toe ko. He says, you see through every eye. Sahas. Anginata. Millions of them. Nan, akhan. So where's the energy? The way I'm seeing you, you are seeing me. Where's that energy coming from? He is seeing through these. Yet he is not. He sees it, yet he is not. It is in that paradox that the reason exists, that there is no way you can create a physical model of physical arati, because that only covers one side of it. He's explaining Sahastavanan. You have millions of eyes to see. Right? All the 84 lakhs or millions of creation, they all see. And you are seeing through them. Sahastavanan. But Nannanan, still you don't have any eye. Nannanan hai toe ko. Yet you don't have any eye. But you see. You see through the eyes that you have created. Yet you have no eye of your own. Sahas tav nan, nan nan hai toe kaho, sahas murat nanna ek to hi. Millions of form, murat. Yet you have no form. That's why a physical model is impossible. Because you can only create one side of it. What you going to do with the other? That's why you need to participate in this artha. Sahas tav nan, nanna nan hai toe ko, sahas murat nanna ek to hi. You are still same, have no body, no form. Sahas pad bemal. Pad means paw, feet. Bemal, bemal. Mal means mal, dirt. You know, feet are normally associated with dirt. Sahaspad, bimal, nannaik. Similarly, gazillions of feet, and you have no foot. Ek pad gandh bin, and he says, fragrances around. Yet you have no means to experience the fragrance. He says, I look at this and I go into the absolute ecstatic state. What? Sahastav gandh ev chalat mohi. The Brahmgyani is absolutely in an awe and ecstatic state of it. What a beautiful model. What a paradox. And a human body system can experience it provided it drops the insistence of being I am and turn it around and say, no, you are. Tu karta, tu bhaya. Oh, no, I'll say tu as well I want to say me. And last time we were talking about it. That when you insist on prayer, have you ever thought about who are you praying to? Gurbani says, bin boleyan sab kich jaanda. Now, if he is antarjami, means antar means inside, jam mean बैठना. अगर वो अंदर बैठा हुआ है, तो ते ऑलरेडी जानता है. हुन अरदास किनु करदे पए हो? Who are you praying to? But don't you see that that is also perpetuation of the same model? One who's doing the ardas, one who's being done to, दो तो पैदा हो गए. Insistence on the same duality. You stay as a God, I want to stay as a human, and I want to do all of these things because by doing that, I feel somebody. And Gurbani says, why are you reducing yourself? You are actually him. Get back there. Don't keep on falling. It's just like Gurbani tells the feminine gender, why are you reducing your value? You are already closer to him. You want to become equal to the man. Man is actually lower than you are where you are. Why you insist? Why don't you recognize yourself? Don't you see how childish this demand is that God should put you at this pedestal and you want to come down and say, no, I want to be equal to him. Why? You are already there. Nature made you that way. And you insist on falling down. Why? That way you can compete equal. And you're saying the same thing to your creator. You're bringing him down to your level so that you can compete with him. Tum aise ho, hum aise hain. Ye ho hi nahi sakta. There is no way to compare yourself with him. Why? Because you are him. The only problem is that you haven't actualized it. You haven't experienced it. And those who have experienced, they keep coming back to you with the same message again and again and again. And repeating and hammering. Pick up any spiritual literature from any religion and they will say the same thing. If they are honest, they will say the same thing. Bulle Shah said, Bulliya, bas ikko gal wajab diye, har dil vich surat rab diye. Je zahar kara israr ta'i ta maran bulle yaar ta'i ithe chup di gali phab diye. If I declare this as a Muslim says there is one God and one messenger and rest is everybody else. Allah, Muhammad, and then everybody else. And I see I get amused so much. Do you know a Muslim will not take the name of Muhammad without saying peace be with him. After Muhammad's name, no matter how many times they repeat it in their conversation, they will repeat the statement peace be with him, as if that is dependent upon his declaration. Muhammad by himself is not capable of it. He needs the blessing of everybody. Peace be with him. And the same way, the God, the glory be yours, as if his glory is dependent upon my declaration. Is he not glorified without me? सुन वड्डा आखे सब कोए, जे सब मिलके आखण पाए, वड्डा ना होवे काट ना जाए. Don't you see when you're saying he's great, he's great, he's great, what you doing? Well, let's start doing the other way around. He's nothing, he's nothing, he's nothing, he's nothing. See if there is any change in that. Don't you see the logic? It is doing nothing to that. It is only doing something to you, your identity, your ego, your feeling of I-ness. Every activity is reinforcing that feeling of I-ness. When you want to become humble and humility, that is also reinforcing your ego. You go in a service and that also reinforces your ego. You go in a prayer, that also reinforces your ego. You don't surrender. You have created these devices and fallen into the reverse logic. डॉक्टर ने मैनू ते मना कीता शराब ना पी पर मेरे मित्रां नू नहीं सी कीता सो मैं उन्हां लई कह रहा. See that? You told that story, I didn't. Look how Gurbani is coming back and reminding you, saying this is exactly the logic of everybody's life, and refuse to wake up. And he says you cannot create that model of arati because of sahas tav nain nan nain hai to ye kaho. सहज समूरत नन्ना एक तो ही, सहज पद बिमल नन एक पद गंध बिन, सहज तव गंध एव चलत मोही. Why? The conclusions. सब में ज्योत, ज्योत है सोए. Who's worshipping whom? सब में ज्योत, ज्योत है सोए. It is not a Sikh God and a Hindu God and a Muslim God and a Christian God and a Jew God. Look at the arrogance of human. Jewish nation has been suffering for more than the last 5,000 years on one single statement. We are the chosen one. That's it. They would not give up that thought. We are the chosen one. The rest of the world is all supposed to be in our service. Look what Hitler did. We are the nation, the fatherland. Forget about the mother now because that makes you weak. Look at the arrogance of human. History is full of them. Only if when Alexander wanted to go around the world to conquer the world, somebody told him, go and seek the blessing of the mystic of that time, Socrates. And Alexander goes, and so Socrates knew he was coming. His disciple had already told. So he came down and said, I have come to seek your blessing. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm going to go conquer the world. Oh, is that right? How are you going to do that? So he lays out all this plan. And all Socrates is doing, okay, you conquer these now. Yeah, and then? Well, then I'll move on and conquer that. And say, okay, then. That's all he's saying. Then what? Then what? And he says, then when I conquer the whole world, I'll come back home. So then what? Well, then I will live happily ever after. And he was playing with his dog. He says, if the objective in the final run is to be happy ever after, do you think I'm sad right now? Come play with the dog right now. Why to go around the world and then come back play with the dog? If the ultimate thing is come back and be happy, do you think I'm sad? Look at that dog. Is he sad? And we are both playing, having fun on the beach. Why don't you come and play with us and forget about this going around the world? Take a shortcut. Because in that process, how many people will you kill and destroy? And ultimately come back and be happy. If that is your goal of life, ultimately be happy, why don't you be happy right now? Do you know that he died without finishing his? Do you know that on his death procession, he left his hands open? And the people interpreted it that he's trying to say that I earned the world, but never, still going empty-handed. That's not what he was saying. He was sending that message back to his master that today I understood your message. I should have used these hands to play with the dog. At his deathbed, he recognized what Socrates told him before he started on it. And he said, keep my hands out of the coffin. He will know what I'm saying. But that's the story of human arrogance. And that's what Gurbani is saying. If you remember this, which? सब में जोत जोत है सोए तिस दे चानन सब में चानन होए. Then all artis and all these dramas and all these things will absolutely drop and you will start participating in the eternal arati. You will start feeling the blissfulness in every flower, in every wind, in every chirping of the bird, every smile of the child, every cry of the tear of a destitute. You will see everywhere. Sitting there, he's laughing. Sitting there, he's quiet. Sitting there, he's crying. Sitting there, he's making fun. Sitting there, he's having fun. Why? Sab mein jyot jyot hai so. But we would listen to this and then we'll be in a total disbelief. How can that be? As if we have become smarter than those who have been there. Let's forget about the God, and that's very difficult things to do, and let's forget about all this. Here is a Gurbani. Here is the people who in the physical form went through that process, experientially got that message, and is trying to communicate and say, how can that be? In theory, that's good, but come on, we have so many things to do, need to keep appointments, and need to raise children, and need to marry the children up and make houses and build this society. And if we don't do that, what will happen to the society? What will happen to the world if everybody starts doing this? See the arrogance? I am holding the world in my hand. If I stop doing everything, the world is going to stop. God is going to go on vacation and say, well, since he's nothing is going to happen because I became a saint. Isn't that absolutely laughable argument? Hey, if I start doing this, what will happen to the children? What will happen to my wife? What will happen to my friends? Oh, what if you were called right now back where you came from? Then tell me what is going to happen to them. I remember when very first time I came to this country, an insurance salesman came to me and wanted to sell me life insurance. And he said, I very politely listened because somebody referred a friend to a friend to a friend. So after his presentation, he said, do you want to buy it? And I said, no. So why not? What happens if you die tomorrow? So, well, you just got married. You have a wife. You don't want to provide for her? Well, I'm worried about her when I'm alive. Do you want me to take her worry to my cover also? I said, go ask her. Is she going to worry about that when I die, how many days of food I'm going to leave behind in the kitchen? And how much she can cook and leave behind so that he doesn't have to worry about it? What kind of nonsense is this? Don't sell me on the fear. I can worry when I'm alive. At that time, I used to worry. Now I don't worry even when I'm alive. It is a false coin. It's the ego's way of saying, I am doing something. And Gurbani is pointing out to you, everything is happening around you. It will continue to happen around you, with you, without you, because you are actually that essence. You are co-creator. You just don't recognize. Because if you are doing something in the physical form, then you will be doing something in the non-physical form because you are it. Once you drop this shell of body, that is called, just want to saying, that essence is not going to totally disappear. It's going to be somewhere part of that cosmos, and it will be doing something as a part of that cosmos. So, listen to this. It says, but in order to get this concept, Gur Sakhi Jot Pargat Hoye. It is only possible if you have an iota of a faith in the word of the Guru. Who's the Guru here? The one who has experienced it. Not who was born to so and so in such and such a century. That's not what he was talking about here. A Guru is the one who has actualized that awareness. And if you have belief and understanding and trust in that, you will get this gist. Otherwise, it will be nothing more than an intellectual gymnastic. Play of the words. Play with the language. Smartness to talk about and impress others, thereby strengthening your ego further. See, I know it, you don't. That's why the ego of the preacher actually is more dangerous than the one who's listening. Get the importance of this. A thief can be much more closer to the God than a saint is. Because a thief recognizes he is a real thief and does not claim anything to be else. Whereas a saint will always claim something to be what he is not. Why? Because he has to have the fellowship. That's why God has to wait for 10 years to get one padre in the सब में जोत जोत है सोए तिस दे चानन सब में चानन होए गुर साखी जोत प्रगट होए. Unless until Gurus is accepted as Sakshat, Sakhi, that it is the real one. Though this word is coming from the real one, and I take it as a real one, that Jot, that idea, that Chanan, Jot here does not mean his Jyoti, that means the awareness, the knowledge. It will not become clear to you. because you will put your own filter on this one also. A mind has an uncanny capability of explaining anything away. It can create its own drama. It can play its own drama as if it is absolutely real. Justifying it. Yours or mine, doesn't matter. If you want to call me a thief, you can absolutely find the reasons. See, तुसा साडा दिल चुराया जी, चोर तो है ही हो. लो जी हुण, I'm going to call you a thief no matter what. I'll find the argument. I will create the argument. And I can say, देखो जी, मेरी कोई intention नहीं थी तुम्हारा दिल चुराने ली. So what? You did it anyway. And we can sit here and argue all night. And I say, no, I'm not a thief. I didn't do anything. Yes, you did. I know. Why? Because I'm hurting. तुसा सारा दिल चुरा लिया जी. ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਕਸੂਰ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ, ਮੇਰਾ ਥੋੜੀ. ਦੇਖੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸਾ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ. ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛੋ ਨਾ, ਹਰਟ ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸਾ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ. How dare you insult my sentiment? It's a true, honest emotion. You are a thief. And the mind will go on and on and on. And today Gurbani is saying, look at that drama. Why is that drama going on? Because of one single reason. You insist on being an individual. And God wishing, if you are really an individual, you know where the word individual come from? The one that's indivisible. And the reality is you are not an individual at all. You are divided into so many parts. Have you ever noticed yourself within your own self, setting up the two opposite views and arguing among yourself? Should I do this? No, not really. Well, if I did that, no, wait a minute. No, that's not. That, no. And what would that guy say? Oh, my. Are you an individual? Have you ever seen yourself? You are a collection of so much hodgepodge because you insist on being someone different. Only if you surrender that and become individual, indivisible, one with the one, only then you can see that. And Gurbani says, Jo tis bhave so arati hoye. This is, the arati is the one that he is creating, not what humans are creating. As long as you can experientially see that, not intellectually argue about it. See the difference? Intellectually you just made the perfect statement. But are you aware of it yourself? That's the key. Not intellectual knowledge. That is the first stage of, once you accept that, and you go on to say, now I am going to experience it, really. What it feels like to have that chanan inside. And the day you become a Kabir, you would really be able to say, yeah, I am him, the same. Ram Kabira ek bhaye hai. Intellectually that's correct. Why it is correct? Because, as I said, the necklace is still in the neck. It is not out yet. Hence, the necklace sees itself as an individual, even though somebody has told, hey, you came from the same gold. So he beginning to remember, yes, I am gold. But I still call myself to be a necklace. The day you get off the neck and actually start experiencing being the gold, that day what will happen? Jyotis bhave so arati. Har charn kamal makarand lobhat mano andino mohe ahi pyasa. Now Gurbani is bringing us, I say, well, how it will happen? That thirst has to arrive from you. Which thirst? Har charn kaval makarand lobhat. The word makarand, if those of you who know, you remember your elementary botany, every flower has a pollen in. And that pollen is responsible for the fragrance. And the pollen is also responsible for sending the seed to the other plant. And they become actually the cross-pollination. That's where cross-pollination came from. Beautiful word here. Makarand. That's makarand. This is what's happening right now. The cross-pollination taking place. something flowing from you to me, flowing from me to you. And in that, what should happen? Lobhat mano. The inside you should get motivated. That is also a kind of a lobha, right? That's also a kind of a pyas. Andino mohe ahi pyasa. Andino. This is not something that you can do for or have a discussion, an idea for an hour, a minute or two, and then say, well, okay, now tash le aao ji. That's not what it is. Andino. It should become consistent. Andino mohe ahi pyasa, a certain thirst, certain urge. When that pyas, that thirst comes inside you, then what will happen? Gurbani concludes, says, Kirpa jal dehe nanak sarang ko hoye jate tere nae vasa. Then what will happen? It says, His grace, Kirpa jal. His grace then starts flowing toward that. And then what happens when the grace, when you become capable of receiving the grace, when will you receive the grace? Gurbani says, when that I, which is so insistence upon being there, steps aside, vacates the house. Now you are empty. That Kirpa Jal can flow through now. And then what's the conclusion? Hoye jate tere nae vasa. Then his word would be the one. That would be the chanan. That would be the light. That is the real arati. So Gurbani is not making fun of anybody. Gurbani is not insulting anybody's sentiments. It's not calling anybody wrong or right. It is pointing out a fallacy in the thinking process from where this model came from. And that fallacy led the human on a totally opposite, destructive path, which will never get closer to the Creator. Why? Because if you are closer to that, then you will declare, Kabir said, Baman Guru hai jagat ka bhagtan ka gurna hai. And he totally declares it. He says, Baman Guru hai jagat ka. All of the world is as it. Bhagtan ka gurna hai. Why not? He says, ulaj araj ke pachmua charo bedo mahe. Says he can only intellectualize. He has no experiential awareness. And a bhagat needs experience, not the words, not the talk, not the discussion, not the argument, not the fights. He wants to experience. Hence, a Brahman means an intellectual can never be a guru to a bhagat. But for rest of us, he is everything. We run to him. Whatever he says, we do it. That's it. Why? Because we do not have what? Our Charan Kamal Makarand Lobodhamano Andena Mohe Ahi Pyasa. We don't have that pyas. So we don't even. And you can ask yourself, you can go this Sunday to any one of the religious institutions that you would like to visit and listen to the sermon there and then see inside you, does it bring anywhere closer to that? And if it doesn't, do you ever go back to that person and say, what have you been selling so far? Why this story? Where did this come from? What is going to do for me? And what is it doing for you other than your livelihood? We would not. We will not have the courage. Why? Because we don't have the pyas. It's a demand and supply equation. When there's no demand, if the artificial will sell, why would anyone go for the real one? Right? Look around you. In our houses, if I am willing to pay for the furniture that's made of the real wood, do you think the business of the particle board will survive too long? Because I'm not willing to pay the price for the real wood furniture. The particle board. What's the particle board? Engineers can tell you. It is the remaining of the wood that has been ground to a dust and then compacted with the glue and put a little sheet over it, and that's called particle board. And that's the furniture you see. That's why you cannot put a screw through it. You cannot put a nail because it's not a wood. But that's the only thing that sells. Why? Because demand and supply. If you are fond of real flower, why would the plastic flower market be so large? But how many people go and buy the fresh flowers? But look at every home. That's the story of the human. We do not have that thirst. We do not have that pyas. Hence, don't go around and say preachers are at fault because they don't tell us the real thing. I submit to you that you don't want the real thing. You don't buy the real thing. You don't need the real thing. You don't want the real thing because it is expensive. It's going to require some sacrifice. It's going to require some changes in you. It's going to require some revolution in your life. And you don't want to do that. So, you have struck an easy bargain. Hey, guess what, guy? You need $5 from my pocket. Here is. Be quiet. You don't need to change. I don't need to change. We both are religious. Very, very interesting phenomena. And Gurbani says, hey, wait a minute. This is not what your destiny is. You are the part. Your journey is to get back to that source. So may He encourage us, motivate us. May we get motivated so that we can start cleansing our inner being out. Start dropping those things that reinforce the I so much so that we can actually truly participate in the real Arti. With that, I want to thank you for all coming tonight. If I said something that hurt you, I sincerely apologize. That came out of my arrogance, ignorance, and how made wrong choice of words. So I apologize for that. If anything touched you, that's a message from the beyond. You should not say that I said it. It is a message from the beyond. Take it as such, and that may help you to revolutionize your own life. With that, we will open for question and